The future of wheat is certain, and it's toxic. There are as many health risks associated with the consumption of wheat as there are nutritional benefits claimed by the wheat industry. Why is there such a strong emphasis on the development of wheat products all over the world when there are so many adverse and crippling effects such as neurological impairment, dementia, heart disease, cataracts, diabetes, arthritis and visceral fat accumulation, not to mention the full range of intolerances and bloating now experienced by millions of people? Approximately 700 million tons of wheat are now cultivated worldwide, making it the second most produced grain after maize. It is grown on more land area than any other commercial crop and is considered a staple food for humans. At some point in our history, this ancient grain was nutritious in some respects. However, modern wheat really isn't wheat at all. Once agribusiness took over to develop a higher yielding crop, wheat became hybridized to such an extent that it has been completely transformed from its prehistorical genetic configuration. All nutrient content of modern wheat depreciated more than 30% in its natural unrefined state compared to its ancestral genetic line. The balance and ratio that Mother Nature created for wheat was also modified, and human digestion and physiology could not adapt quick enough to the changes. The nutritional value of wheat is practically non-existent in its current form. So-called health experts in nutrition who continue to promote the health benefits of wheat are extremely uninformed about the nature of modern wheat and its evolution from growth to consumption. It is shocking how many professionals in public health still recommend wheat products without an assessment of their individual requirements, especially considering the amount of evidence regarding its lack of nutrition and health risks for proportionally large segments of the population. The majority of wheat is processed into 60% extraction, bleached white flour. 60% extraction, the standard for most wheat products, means that 40% of the original wheat grain is removed. So not only do we have an unhealthy, modified, and hybridized strain of wheat, we also remove and further degrade its nutritional value by processing it. Unfortunately, the 40% that gets removed includes the bran and the germ of the wheat grain, its most nutrient-rich parts. In the process of making 60% extraction flour, over half of the vitamin B1, B2, B3, E, folic acid, calcium, phosphorus, zinc, copper, iron, and fiber are lost. Any processed foods with wheat are akin to poison for the body since they cause more health risks than benefits. The body does not recognize processed wheat as food. Nutrient absorption from processed wheat products is thus consequential with almost no nutritional value. Some experts claim if you select 100% whole wheat products, the bran and the germ of the wheat will remain in your meals, and the health benefits will be impressive. This is again the falsity promoted by the wheat industry, since even 100% whole wheat products are based on modern wheat strains created by irradiation of wheat seeds and embryos with chemicals, gamma rays, and high-dose X-rays to induce mutations. Whether you consume 10% or 100% of wheat is irrelevant, since you're still consuming a health-damaging grain that will not benefit, advance or even maintain your health in any way. Dr. Marcia Alvarez, who specializes in nutritional programs for obese patients, says that when it comes to nutrition, wheat may be considered as an evil grain. Modern wheat grains could certainly be considered as the root of all evil in the world of nutrition, since they cause so many documented health problems across so many populations in the world. Dr. Alvarez asserted that wheat is now responsible for more intolerances than almost any other food in the world. In my practice of over 2 decades, we have documented that for every 10 people with digestive problems, obesity, irritable bowel syndrome, diabetes, arthritis and even heart disease, 8 out of 10 have a problem with wheat. Once we remove wheat from their diets, most of their symptoms disappear within 3 to 6 months, she added. Dr. Alvarez estimates that between the coming influx of genetically modified gram strains of wheat and the current tendency of wheat elimination in societies, that a trend is emerging in the next 20 years that will likely see 80% of people cease their consumption of wheat from any form. Genetic modification. The gram wheat currently being tested for approval for production in Canada is a new variety of hard red spring wheat which has been genetically engineered to be tolerant to glyphosate, the active ingredient in Monsanto's herbicide Roundup. Monsanto Canada Incorporated requested the approval of GE wheat from Health Canada in July 2002 and for the Canadian Food Inspection Agency CFIA in December 2002. In July 2009, the most hated company in the world, Monsanto, announced new research into gram wheat, and industry groups kicked their promotion of gram wheat into high gear. Widespread farmer and consumer resistance defeated gram wheat in 2004, and this global rejection remains strong, as demonstrated by today's statement, said Lucy Charette, coordinator of the Canadian Biotechnology Action Network. There are now even claims by researchers in Australia have developed a form of salt-tolerant wheat that will allow farmers to grow crops in soil with high salinity. They created the new form of wheat by crossing the modern strain with an ancient species, and the researchers believe this new super wheat will allow farmers to grow more food crops on land previously thought to be off limits to agriculture. Critics suggest that new strains will be foreign to current ecological systems and will be unsustainable without massive chemical intervention. Industry claims that the introduction of gram wheat will lead to a reduction in herbicide use, the claim that has been made prior to the introduction of other herbicide-tolerant height crops such as Roundup Ready RR soybeans, canola and corn. These claims have been contradicted by U.S. government statistics that show that gram height crops such as RR crops use more pesticides than conventional crops. These state gram crops can receive as much as 30% more herbicide than non-gram crops. Not only do gram crops use more pesticides, but they also force the farmer to purchase one single brand of herbicide, in this case Monsanto brand Roundup. If introduced, GE wheat will enter farmers' rotations along with the already height canola and soybeans. This compounds the issue of superweights as each crop sown would be height, so any seed that fell from the crop before harvest would pose a threat of becoming an uncontrollable weed, or contained by using increasingly toxic herbicides. How can we believe that pesticide use will decrease with GE wheat? These developments are also taking place in the United States, which is the third largest wheat producer in the world. Fertilizers, herbicides, fungicides, and growth regulators are all becoming more chemically potent, and their frequency of application continues to increase every 5 years. American scientists are currently developing gram strains of wheat conferring resistance to fungal diseases. Wheat is becoming such a transmutated grain that it someday may not even be called wheat. Health effects. The powerful little chemical in wheat known as wheat germ agglutinin WGA, which is largely responsible for many of wheat's pervasive and difficult to diagnose ill effects. Researchers are now discovering that WGA in modern wheat is very different from ancient strains. Not only does WGA throw a monkey wrench into our assumptions about the primary causes of wheat intolerance, but due to the fact that WGA is found in highest concentrations in whole wheat, including its supposedly superior sprouted form, it also pulls the rug out from under one of the health food industry's favorite poster children.